Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Friday, July 28th. This is Gina McGuire. Over the next couple of days, we will have thunderstorms continuing across the Great Basin. Today, still drier weather is in place over northwest and northern Nevada into southwest Idaho, but still we'll have scattered thunderstorms on the wetter side over much of the southern and eastern half of Utah back into eastern Nevada, and also a little bit further north and west than what we saw yesterday over parts of northeast Nevada. We could also see a few isolated thunderstorms over the Sierra into Mineral County in western Nevada, and also up into the central Idaho mountains. As we move into this weekend, we have a better chance of some drier lightning over parts of western and northwest Nevada and also the central Idaho mountains, and those areas are highlighted as we will see gusty outflow winds. Even if thunderstorms are isolated, they will likely be on the drier side and be producing gusty winds. Over the last 24 hours, we've seen scattered amounts of precipitation over much of Idaho into Utah, and you can see the lightning over in the picture on the right, generally over central and eastern Nevada, Utah, and then up into central Idaho. These thunderstorms, again, were on the wetter side, with many areas seeing reports of over a half or 3/4 of an inch of precipitation, even further north into Idaho, but more widespread as you move over the southern areas of the Great Basin. Yesterday, we saw moderate initial attack across the Great Basin with a report of 28 new fires. Over the last 1 to 4 weeks, generally precipitation has been focused over the southern half of the Great Basin over the last 7 days, which has been well above normal for this time of year. Even over the last 30 days, with the repeated thunderstorms we've seen over the southern areas of the Great Basin, precipitation again has been above normal for the last 30 days, and much drier as you go further north. How the ERCs have responded to this recent moisture over the last week, they've generally been decreasing and are below the 50th percentile over much of the southern half of the Great Basin, but are still between the 70th and 80th percentile further north and still critical over parts of the central Idaho mountains. However, these ERCs will be increasing and have already started that increasing trend, as you can see in the lower right map across western Nevada. With the drier air that's just moved in over the last day or so, ERCs are already starting to climb back up. 10-hour fuel moisture, again very representative of our finer fuels, are showing very dry conditions still over western and southwest Idaho, which again has already started drying out from the conditions we saw yesterday. The satellite loop from this morning shows high pressure in the southern areas of the Great Basin and a cluster of thunderstorms ongoing this morning over eastern Nevada into western Utah, which is on the wetter side and is already producing some areas of wetting rain. However, generally clear skies expected over western Nevada into Idaho this morning, but we will see thunderstorms develop in the far north once again. Now looking at the fire potential for today, no high risks issued across the Great Basin. However, we'll see some thunderstorms across the central Idaho mountains. These will be isolated on the wetter side, but fuels are still critical in these areas. Also, thunderstorms, looking at the image on the left, will continue over the eastern half of the Great Basin. Relative humidity today will decrease over northwest and western Nevada as drier air continues to push eastward. However, we could still see a few isolated thunderstorms develop today over the central Sierra into parts of western and central Nevada, with higher lightning coverage further east. As we move into Saturday, we start to see moisture return to parts of western and northwest Nevada and up into Idaho again, and it's this western and northern fringe of the moisture that will again be most problematic with drier type thunderstorms. Even though coverage right now looks to be isolated, these thunderstorms will produce gusty outflow winds and be an impact to either new incidents or ongoing incidents in those areas. Wetter thunderstorms will continue in areas further east. Relative humidity on Saturday will remain quite low over western areas into southwest Idaho, with relative humidity in the single digits to around 10%. And the image on the right shows again that spattering of lightning mainly over the eastern half of the Great Basin, but still potential over parts of northwest and northern Nevada. As we move into Sunday, lightning activity shifts a little bit further east, generally over the eastern 2/3 of the area, with a little bit more lightning on Sunday than we'll see on Saturday up over southern Idaho and into the central Idaho mountains. We have not issued any high risk, as these thunderstorms may be on the wetter side, but we will continue to monitor them. Relative humidity starts to decrease now over much of the western half of Nevada as that drier air moves in, with lightning continuing over the rest of the area, and definitely higher relative humidity continuing over much of Utah. The overall forecast amount of precipitation over the next 3 days generally shows the heaviest wetting rains over Utah and over parts of northeast Nevada, with lighter amounts expected with the lightning into Idaho and far northwest Nevada. As we go into early next week, we see a drier pattern return now into western Idaho, into western Nevada, and this drying trend will likely continue for several days. thunderstorms will be pushed further east on Monday, with again no high risk, with low fire potential expected in the east and low to moderate fire potential in the west. As we move into Tuesday, that drier air pushes further east across much of Nevada, therefore very dry conditions in place with decreasing relative humidity and warm temperatures under the ridge of high pressure. Any lightning on Tuesday will be confined to Utah, Wyoming, and parts of central and eastern Idaho. As we move into Wednesday, similar pattern with dry air in place, only that dry air pushes a little bit further east into Utah, with Wednesday looking to be the day with the least amount of lightning across the Great Basin. As we move into Thursday and towards the end of next week, we see a return of drier thunderstorms starting in the Sierra and western Nevada and eventually pushing north into Idaho. And we will definitely be watching this situation after several days of dry and very warm temperatures. Fuels will return to very critical status, and this return of dry lightning will likely be a concern over the western and northern side of the basin. The overall 7-day forecast amount of precipitation is very similar to the 3-day. With that drier period, most of this precipitation will be occurring through the Sunday time period. The 8 to 14-day outlook, which takes us into the end of the first week of August, shows still above normal temperatures for much of the west, and that above normal precipitation signature has now decreased to just the southern portion of the Great Basin, with drier conditions continuing over northern and western areas. That concludes our briefing for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you for listening.